Hey, just want to take a moment here on Memorial Day to remember those heroes, those men and women that sacrificed their lives in the U.S. military so that we here in the United States can be free. So a moment to think about all that they sacrificed for us today. So we just want to honor them. I hope you're having a great Memorial Day weekend. Just wanted to update you on Bitcoin. I told you I would if some changes were made. We're getting a few things, but I just wanted to continue to point out we're likely going to go higher and reach one that I've been talking about and may even overthrow it. We rose up here to my objective target, to that 105,000 area. We reached that 105,000 area right here, and we right there, we reached it, and I told you we started going sideways when we pulled back, and I told you when we pull back, it's likely to get another pop and then a drop. Another pop before pulling back, and again, my signals, which are correct, continue to remain bullish. We could see another divergence develop here, pushing higher, similar to what we had over here, similar to what we had over here. We could see something like that happen here and still push up into the trend line I've been talking about. I think that is more likely than not to happen. Here I've marked it that minor wave 1 is done, that we're now starting the correction. I think this count right here is less likely. So again, over here, my signals correctly called the day of the bottom, correctly predicted this rally when everybody was saying there's no hope, alt season is canceled, Bitcoin's about to crash. 74,000 was major support. I know that because of the 50-week moving average that we bounced off of at that level at 74,000. Bitcoin's average price, horizontal support. I've talked about this at great length and detail. So I told you we were going to bottom around the 74,000 area. I said you might dip a little bit below it and get back above it, but you're probably going to bottom at 74,000. I was correct. We bottomed at it right on the nose. Peak a stinking boo. Signals were right again. Again, this count right here suggests, okay, move to a new high. We just slightly overthrew this trend line and we peaked. I told you we could redefine the boundary here, and it may be that we just did, and we go up and go to one more push higher, reach that, and even overthrow this level one more time, and reach that 113,000 area, overthrow it, go to 114, 15, 16,000, 117,000, something like that, closer to the 78.6 fib extension that I talked about in my last update at great length and detail. Maybe we'll look at that chart if we have time. Count right here on the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin says, hey, the top is in and we're done and we're going to go lower. The other count, I think, more likely, and that is that we're not done. And that is this count right here. Again, minor wave 1 is not done, and eventually finish. We'll hit the target level of the trend line and maybe overthrow it, and then we'll get the pullback, maybe as low as this 88,500 area, which is the breakout of our double bottom pattern. Again, this was the January low as well. This was support. It broke. It became resistance. And now it's become support again. We could throw back all the way to that level. Certainly don't want to rule that out, or something more mild, certainly possible. But look at this beautiful rising wedge developing here. And again, maybe it's done, but I've counted it. Again, as I told you over here, reach my 105,000 target area. It is likely that we are going to go make new highs. We did. Revised my target up to the trend line at that 113,000. And again, that trend line excluding the shadow at the 12,000 area, we've reached that level. I think we can still pop higher, and I think this count is more likely, and you get a divergence here in this most recent price action here with this peak over here, RSI, and down here with the MACD. I think the MACD turns back up a little bit more, and then I think we peak. And we're going to have the Bitcoin conference, and that's going to be, the Bitcoin conference is going to be through Tuesday through Thursday. So it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You got a lot of big names in the crypto community there. You got the vice president speaking. What I've tended to notice over and over again is these different Bitcoin events and here the Bitcoin conference, we tend to see Bitcoin peak out and begin a sharp decline or a crash surrounding the conference. The hype going into it, and then it ends up being a sell the news event over and over again. So I don't think this time is going to be any different. This is the conference coming up here in Las Vegas. So as I said this last week, we could see Bitcoin either try to top this week as we go towards the conference or early on next week. Certainly possible that we see that. My signals are still bullish, but I'm looking for clues. I think we're going to get the pop is going to continue the rally towards the trend line I've been talking about, and then I think we're going to pull back. I think this scenario is very likely to be the case, and here I've marked the count as that we have a 1, a 2, that we have this extended wave 3, and we now have 4, and that we're going to get 5. So again, and it could overthrow this area. We can go of the 113,000 area, but I think you're going to reach it in all likelihood. I think this count is very likely. We're trying to bounce off the 50 period here in the 4-hour time frame and our cloud of support, and we're getting a rally. The president has delayed the 50% tariff on the EU. We found out last week that the president was going to go forward with slapping tariffs back on the EU June 1st as negotiations stalled. Predicted in my stock market video that, again, that would wake up the EU and they would try to resolve it quickly to restart negotiations. Gee, I was right. That's exactly what happened. The head of the EU calls up the president. The president delayed those tariffs until July 9th. Exactly what I said was going to happen. I've been talking about the stock market and Bitcoin pulling back, but then continuing on towards my trend line. And we talked about that in great length and detail. Do yourself a favor. Watch the video all the way through. Again, I still think Bitcoin will reach this trend line. I still think these highs in December, January are pointing to the next high, or maybe we move just beyond them. Trying to get a 13 countdown sell signal. See that here develop today or in the next few days. And again, a top surrounding that. I'll be talking more about that. Signals still remain bullish. Blue bars right here. Look at this. Absolutely incredible. Nailed the entire decline. Look at the reversal bar here. And I think, again, you're going to come up into this area. And then I think you're going to see red bars reappear to form the right shoulder. We'll hit that upper Bollinger Band, overthrow it, reach this level, get a topping tail like we did over here and here. More about that shortly. Absolutely incredible signals. Bitcoin's up 0.36% right now, over 1%. We'll see if we close strong or weak. I do think we're likely going to reach that trend line and move to new highs. Again, everything blue here. Peak and turn, this will likely begin to have red show up. Absolutely incredible signals. I think Bitcoin's completing this first minor wave higher. I think it will pull back for minor wave 2. I still think, as I've been talking about, reaching the trend line, getting a pop higher. I told you in this consolidation, I thought we'd pop higher, thought we'd move to a new all-time high and slam into the trend line from the previous peaks. And I think that will produce the top here, and then we'll get the pullback. My signals still remain bullish. So again, I still think it's very likely that we reach that upper trend line from the previous peaks. I think we'll see my signals begin to turn bearish and we'll get a bigger pullback. But absolutely incredible signals. Calling the tops and the decline, calling the bottom and the advance. Signals nailed the very day of the bottom here on April 7th. I got bullish signals on April 7th, 8th, and 9th. Nailed the bottom there. We got the reversal candlestick, that black candlestick you see right there. It was followed by the bullish blue bar, the bullish. A little tongue-tied there. And again, the bars have been bullish ever since. Got a couple of signs of a reversal, but we only corrected sideways. Here, a top and a reversal. Got a confirmation, but no follow through here, no confirmation whatsoever. And again, they just marked corrective moves. And now we've seen this pullback. I still think we're going to likely get up to my trend line from these previous highs towards 113,000 area. I still think that's very likely. all my signals start turning bearish. Here I have no warning signs. There's no topping signal. There's no reversal bar. So I still think you're going to reach that level, and you very well could even overthrow it. And then I think Bitcoin's going to top and pull back towards the moving averages, the 200 and the 100 period moving average. Absolutely incredible signals. Marking the top over here. We got the sell-off. Marking the bottom over here. We got the rally. Again, my signals still remain bullish. I am getting warning signs that I should be watching for a top, but again, my signals are still bullish. Got to see everything turn back to bearish here. The topping signals if we're going to turn back down. I still think we reach this trend line in all likelihood or move beyond it. Absolutely incredible signals. Bitcoin's risen over 50% since my signals correctly called the day of the bottom here. Got some warning signs for some pullbacks. So far, that's all it's been. We don't have their signals confirming these as anything else but pullbacks. So again, I'll be watching. But I think you're still going to likely get that pop to the trend line as I talked about. See another red arrow show up, something like what we had over here with the 2 arrows showing up at the top, the 2 arrows showing up at the bottom. You could see another arrow show up if we go up and hit the trend line I've been talking about from these highs. Wouldn't be surprised to see a topping tail reaching the Bollinger Band that I've been talking about. Let's look at that chart. Again, my signals are still bullish. We had bottoming signals, and we saw momentum signals turn, and then we saw these trend signals all begin to turn bullish. They're still bullish. Got a warning sign of volatility here. Had it. Didn't get the warning sign here. But again, the upper Bollinger Band is turning down. I think we're going to end up overthrowing it in all likelihood surrounding the Bitcoin conference. Talk about the lower high scenario in this video. The higher high scenario is more likely. I think the signals will all begin to turn back to bearish. Absolutely incredible signals calling the bottom here, calling the tops back over here. Got another bullish signal here. Signals still remain bullish. Blue bars, the cloud is still bullish, the line is still bullish. A bullish signal after this correction, and after this sideways move, rally and the pullback, we get another bullish signal. So again, I think you're going to reach that upper Bollinger Band. I think you'll see some sell signals like what we had over here. Have to get it. We didn't get a bottoming signal here, but we got it over at some of these other lows. No bearish signal here yet. I still think we're forming this divergence. We had one right there. I think we're building upon that. We do have a divergence in place. I don't think it's done yet. I think we'll likely see a peak surrounding the Bitcoin conference. Absolutely incredible signals calling over here. The December top. Tried to flip it here in January. Couldn't do it. Signals remain bearish. The red bars reaffirmed the bearish signal here. Look at that. Bottomed out. Flipped it right after the bottom. A couple days later, bullish bars ever since, got above the ribbon. Now it's turned back to bullish. Amazing signals. I love my signals. They tell me exactly what's going on. Again, we have warning signs that we should be looking for a top here, but again, momentum has not even flipped here. We still have a bullish momentum line right here. Warning signs like we had at the sideways move here, the sideways move here, getting a warning sign here. I still think we get a pop higher, just my personal opinion. If we're going to turn momentum, it has to turn to bearish. It's still bullish at this point. Trend signal still bullish. I still think we reached the trend line I've been talking about. I think once we do or overthrow that 113,000 area where trend line is, I think we'll see signals begin to turn back to bearish. Now, again, I had warning that I should be looking for possible top here, but again, so far it's just been a pullback with some of the indicators that have flashed right here. I still think you're going to end up hitting the trend line from these highs over here, as I've talked about. Eventually, I think you'll move back to the purple line and probably move beyond it, get the right shoulder. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel. You can take a moment to do that. I would really appreciate it. I don't have any sponsors, just a direct relationship with you. I ask that you step up to the plate, help out, rather than waste your time trying to sell you a bunch of stuff. You're here to look at the charts, not for me to try to sell you something. Try to get you to go to exchange that wants to get you all leveraged up to wipe you out. So Follow the link below, take you to a secured site. Donate any amount you want. I thank you for your consideration for that. Now, Bitcoin's bouncing off the trend line, the lower boundary of the rising wedge. We're bouncing off this area again. More about this chart in a minute. Daily chart, we're bouncing off that trend line. Here's the rising wedge. I think we're going to go up into this 113,000 area, maybe even overthrow it. 114, 115, 16, 17,000. Overthrow this area, get a topping tail, and then come back down. And I think you're going to get this right shoulder. I think we're going to get a pullback. And again, the herd is all hyped up. We got to be getting close to a top because, again, I'm calling for a pop and a drop. I'm saying, and I don't think the pop is done. I told you over here in the consolidation, I think we get a pop higher. These trend lines, we hit the first one right here and through it, hit 112,000. First one there at about 111,000 or so. Overthrew it. Still think we go up to this other trend line. These highs pointing to the next high. You'll get another reference point of a divergence. We have a Class B divergence, 2 equal peaks on the indicator and price moving higher. I think you're going to get a divergence right here, Class A divergence, where you get a lower high on the RSI. And I think you pop up here into this area, and then I think we'll get this pullback. I told you the bullish golden cross could be associated with a top as the death cross. And let me just show you on the other chart. The death cross was associated with the bottom. MACD's rolling over. Stochastics trying to turn back up right here. I think it will. And again, I think you'll get this another reference point of a divergence. Again, I've talked about this trend line, and this is where I think we're likely headed. Right now, Bitcoin is up 0.36% at the moment, up about just over 350 points, $350, pardon me. But I think we're forming this massive inverse head and shoulders. We had our double bottom pattern down here, the breakout confirmation line. We could pull back towards the moving averages, back towards the 100 period, back towards the cloud. We don't have to hit this level, but we can move towards it or come close to it. Again, the January low over here, that was support. Support broke, and then it became resistance. Resistance. We broke up through it, and now this is now back to support. So I think that you got a good shot this pattern forms, and we end up dashing the hopes of the bulls. I should say the herd. Now, in the consolidation, we're likely going to get this pop higher. We had the consolidation. We had the price of Bitcoin reach the 105,000 objective target. I revised that, and I told you we're likely going to move to these trend lines. We hit one of them. I still think we're likely going to hit this one right here, and I think we're probably going to do that as we go into the Bitcoin conference. The Bitcoin conference will produce a top in Bitcoin. Selling off, we could get a pop with it and then a drop. You know, Bitcoin conference is all about hype. The hype going into it probably be a sell the news event. It starts on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, but I think, again, we'll have a pop continue. The pop will continue with the conference, and we'll get up into this area and maybe even overthrow 113,000. I told you, I think these highs over here from December and January are pointing to the next high. Get overthrow that level, get a topping tail like we did over here. Like we did over here, we could see a topping tail come up into this 113,000 area or even overthrow it just a little bit, go beyond the trend line, and come back down. Certainly possible we overthrow that level. I think you'll get the right shoulder. Just calling for a pullback. Hey, I'm the guy that called the bottom and predicted the rally, and we're up 50%. And if you dare to say that Bitcoin's going to get some kind of pullback because nothing goes straight up, these people in the herd, they're just so out of touch with reality. The moon boys are even further gone. Don't believe Bitcoin goes down. And when it does, they get very depressed because they buy into that, that hopium and that hype. Trader, Bitcoin goes up and down. That's reality. People are out of touch with reality. So again, I'm being attacked, just like I was attacked at the bottom. All the bears laughing at me, telling me there's no way. I didn't know what I was talking about and that we were about to crash. You know, Kramer was saying there's going to be a Black Monday crash in the stock market, and everybody's running around repeating it, saying, oh, crypto's going to crash and the stock market's going to crash, moving into the next Great Depression. And all these people were wrong. You know, they told us the tariffs would crash the economy, crash the stock market, crash Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It did the complete opposite. I told you the tariffs were a sell the rumor by the news event. That was absolutely correct. Cramer's changed his tune, and again, he's saying no recession. He said that when we got the jobs report at the beginning of May. No recession. This changes everything. I told you the herd is going to follow that, and they're going to say, oh, we've dodged a recession, and all the negativity down here, you're going to start seeing hype come back. But the people that were attacking me down here tell me there's no way we can rise. Now you got the herd tell me there's no way we're going to drop. These people are absolutely amazing. They're a piece of work. They really are. I have amazing indicators. If you watch the video all the way through, you'll see my amazing indicators. The best indicator is the herd. Do the complete opposite of the herd. I'll be right most of the time. Piling back in as I've had the rally. They're now turning. Their sentiment is now turning back to bullish. But when we broke the trend line, when we broke out of the trend line, when we broke out of the double bottom, they were still saying, oh, it's a bear market. Whoop, I didn't draw that very straight. It's still a bear market rally. And, you know, the bears were still scaring the pants off everybody. We got back above the 100 period moving average. We got back above the 200 period moving average. Signals were all turning back to bullish. We saw bottoming signals, and we saw momentum signals turn bullish. Then we saw trend signals begin to turn bullish here. We've rallied up higher. Now we're coming up here now towards the highs as we're moving back towards the highs. Now the sentiment is changing back to bullish. And I've been saying, calling for a pop, a short-term top, and then a pullback. Not a major top, a pullback. I'm very, very bullish on Bitcoin. I think it's going to go to 150,000 to 175,000. I think it will reach those levels likely by this summer or the fall. Looking for the completion of minor wave 1 and a pullback for minor wave 2. Now I'm getting all these people, herd attacking me, the moon boys attacking me, for saying that Bitcoin is going to top soon and pull back. Now, my signals, which are correct, remain bullish. I don't have the topping signals yet, but I know one is coming because I'm getting warning signs. But like I said, in the consolidation, we were going to go to a new high. We were going to get a pop higher, new highs, and likely move to these trend lines. That's now happening. I still believe, listen carefully, I still believe we're going to go higher in all likelihood to the 113,000 area or beyond it. Did you hear what I just said? Great Scott. Or beyond it. 114, 15, 16, 17,000 easily if we get an overthrow of this level, which is very, very possible. Just telling you, the herd, over here they didn't believe it could go up. Now they don't believe it can go down. I think you're going to end up topping out. I think you'll eventually pull back and get this right shoulder scenario. Pulling back towards the 100 period. Bitcoin follows a 100 period moving average. We got above it here. You're likely going to pull back towards it at some point, pull back towards the 50 and the 200 as they get the golden cross. This is likely going to mark a top for Bitcoin for the short term, just as the bearish death cross marked the bottom. Likely pull back to these moving averages. The 50 can still rise, getting further above the 200, but we'll probably pull back towards the 200, towards the 100 period moving average, or maybe towards horizontal support, which again is the double bottom confirmation line. Certainly possible. Likely see this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and then the next move is going to be spectacular, but we're going to have to digest some of these gains for the short term. Now, I predict things before they happen. Right now, the moon boys are telling us no way. The herd telling us no way. Bitcoin goes down. And when it finally pulls back, when we peak, which I do believe it will pop higher, as I've said, towards this trend line or beyond it, when we do begin to pull back, the moon boys telling you exactly what I'm already telling you now, an inverse head and shoulders pattern. They predict things after they happen. I predict things before they happen. And you can do that if you have good indicators. Just as I predicted this rally and the double bottom pattern, and I knew that 74,000 was major support because I have good indicators. Just quickly, our trend line right here is where I think we're headed to. We're stalling currently at the 60.618 extension of the previous advance right here. And that's this level right here. We stalled just slightly above that area. You have this 78.6 Fibonacci, the extension just above that, just above our trend line right here. That's why I'm saying we could overthrow this trend line, which is where I think we're headed. And then that would reach 113,000. We can go to 114, 115, 16, 117,000, all the way up to the 78.6 Fibonacci at 121,000. So again, I don't know that we go that high, but we certainly could overthrow the 61.8 Fib right here, reach this level with the Bitcoin conference, hit this level or reach it or just slightly overthrow it here, and then begin to turn down and move towards the 200 and the 100 period moving average. So again, that's what I think is likely going to be the case. And again, dash the hopes of the herd. Will come in, okay, it's over, you got a triple top, and tell us how we're going to crash again like they did down here, and you're going to pull back, you're going to get a higher low for wave 2, and then the next move is going to be spectacular. You're going to get wave 3. But again, this pink area between the 61.8 Fibonacci and the 78.6 Fibonacci, the extension levels from the previous advance is where I think we're going to stall out at. Predicted we'd move back at the bottom towards the 78.6 Fibonacci, towards 105,000, above 100,000, 101, 105,000 level. Correct. I revised that, told you we were going to go make new highs. I was correct about that. I still think we're likely going to reach this level, but I do think we will get that pullback. Extremely bullish on Bitcoin. If we hit the 113,000, the measurement of the pattern will measure just on a dollar amount to the 150,000 area, just measuring it here with a line from the high to the low, it'd even be higher. And again, I think you come up in here somewhere between the extension of the 1.382 at 157,000 all the way up to the 1.786 extension up here into the 181,500 area. I think you're eventually headed up here, reach the trend line that I've been talking about in the weekly time frame. I told you I was watching for a 13 count to complete here in the next few days. It was trying to complete earlier, or maybe as I'm talking, it might pop back on here. We did have the 13 count earlier. We're seeing the rally begin to fizzle out, but there is many more hours of the trading session. If we close strong above the bar from 2 bars ago, you will complete a 13 count. Now, we may do that today and go a little bit higher. Get the higher high scenario, as I believe we will, or we may form the 13 count as we go into the Bitcoin conference Tuesday through Thursday. 13 count over here, it marked the very day of the December top. And again, I was able to predict the December top and the January top because on the very day of them, because again, we slammed into a major trend line in the weekly time frame. We talked about that at the time. Here's the 9 count right here on the January peak, the very day after the top, that top correctly. Now those, the 13 count marked the very day of the top. The 13 count here, we got it, and we went a little bit lower, and we push down below the lower Bollinger Band. I think you're going to push up through the upper Bollinger Band and hit my trend line and get the 13 count. Now, maybe we get it here today. Maybe we get it a day or two. I think it's likely you're going to push up through the upper Bollinger Band, get a topping tail. Here we pushed up through the upper Bollinger Band, we got a topping tail. Here we pushed up through the upper Bollinger Band, we got a topping tail. And I think these highs are pointing to the next high, or maybe we overthrow that level just a little bit. Certainly possible. Don't want to rule that out. 13 count shows price exhaustion, and the 9 counts as well. Here, the 13 and 9 were price exhaustion here, had price exhaustion, but we still went a little bit lower. I still think we get the 13 count marking the top like we did in December, or getting it and going a little bit higher. But this trend line, I think, is likely to be reached and maybe even move beyond it. If I bring it up close here, you can see what's going on. We had the 9 count reach over here. It was not a perfected signal. We went sideways. The 9 count was correct in that we went sideways. There was a correction. But then we got a trend extension, and we started a 13 count right after that 9 count, and it can have interruptions, which it's had, and we've had up to bar 12 here. Then we sold off. Saturday, we got bar 7 of a 9. Even though the 13 count had stopped, we only got up to bar 12. Let me bring it in closer so you can see it. We only got up to bar 12. We had the 7 of a 9. The bar here was not above the bar from 4 bars ago for the 9 count, so that count got wiped out. Started a 1 to the downside. The 13 count is still very much in play. I think it's likely going to be, the peak is marked with a 13 count, either getting the 13 count as the top or getting the 13 count and moving just beyond it. Now, if we close above the bar from 2 bars ago, this intraday high right here, if we close above that level, the 13 count will complete today. If we don't, then it won't, but you can still get it today, tomorrow. You can still make your way towards my trend line. Look at where the upper Bollinger Band is. The upper Bollinger Band is now turning down. We've had the Bollinger Band, it was rising, and the lower boundary was rising. Now this is turning down, so they're now contracting, okay? Meaning we're probably getting closer to a top. I think you're going to overthrow the upper Bollinger Band. We tagged it over here. I think you're going to overthrow it as it's starting to contract, and that's suggesting top as well, that we should be looking for a short-term top. I think you're going to either today get the 13 count or in the next with the Bitcoin conference, and you could see at the very first day of the conference a pop and a drop and a reversal first or second day of the conference. Very, very possible. I think a very likely probability, and again, historically, you see the sell-offs with these conferences. Hype going into them, and then you get a sell the news event. I think it's going to be the same thing here. But again, I still think we reach this trend line. As I continue to say, I still think we have this pop and a drop. I don't think the pop is done. I told you over here with the sideways move, I thought we'd get a pop before getting a pullback. We've gotten it. I don't think the pop is done. Back a little bit here, I still think we reached this level. So I just want to be clear. Signals still remain bullish, so I think you're going to reach that upper band, all likelihood, and I think you'll probably see a topping tail very similar to what we had at the December top and the January top. Again, you popped above the upper Bollinger Band here a couple of times. You got this move right here, and eventually the 9 count completed the day after the peak. Over here, it marked the day of the top, and you got that topping tail in the Gravestone Doji candlestick. Got that push above the upper band, followed by the 13 count with a reversal. It's very likely we're going to pop up into that trend line, maybe overthrow it, get above the upper Bollinger Band, and then begin to get the pullback for the next several weeks.